Well, it's been relatively quiet on the home front when it comes to the Cowboys this offseason, but they finally made a move, bringing back a familiar face in Ezekiel Elliott. Zeke is back after spending last season with the New England Patriots. Before that, of course, we all know he was RB1 there in Texas with the Cowboys, and now back with his buddy old pal Dak Prescott in that backfield. Zeke sharing his thoughts on his return home, saying, in quote, "I think I still am a dominant guy. I got it to go out there and prove that, but that's the motivation. I think we all know how I feel about competing and leaving it all out there for my team. So we will see." By the way, apparently won't be wearing 21, but 15. Join us now, CBS NFL writer Garrett Podell with more on the boys here. And Garrett, look, the Cowboys went through the draft, no running back selected, but you get Zeke back here on that one-year deal. What are you hearing about the plan with him and that position as a whole?
Well, Brandon, the plan to bring Zeke back began before the draft. The Wednesday, the day before, 24 hours before the draft, Zeke and his representation were just hanging out at a bar right by the team facility, and Stephen Jones ran into him there, and they simply had a few beers. So that's where the conversation started. Later that night, the entire Cowboys scouting department went out for steaks, also nearby the team facility. Guess who's in that restaurant? Ezekiel Elliott and his representation. So then they had even more discussions. Zeke was invited to join the table of the personnel department, even though he wasn't back on the team just yet. Now, I was told multiple times that the potential to add Zeke was not going to impact their look at how they were going to approach the running back position in the draft. They don't end up grabbing one. Zeke's available. And now he's back. He's number 3 all-time in rushing yards and rushing touchdowns for the Cowboys. And this is something where it's a familiar face. He's changed numbers to 15. Zeke told me personally, it's a new era. So he knows he's coming back. He's not the bell cow feed Zeke guy that he was his first few years in the league when he led the NFL in rushing, 2016 and 2018. But he's here to contribute, knows he's part of a rotation, and he's back to get that ring, Brandon. That's what he wants. He said, that's the reason I'm back, to chase a ring and do it alongside his brothers, like quarterback Dak Prescott, who entered the league with him in 2016.
Speaking of Dak, of course, we know the love fest. Those two going back, as you mentioned, they're part of that 2016 class there, and also part of this offense that has ticked up to maybe 1 and 2 over the time in their efficiency. What has Dak kind of said about, hey, look, my bestie's coming home?
Yeah, so Dak was actually part of Zeke's recruitment. So I was able to speak to Prescott on Wednesday, and he said that he was told by the front office that they were looking into Zeke, and he was asked for his opinion. And when he heard that, he said, I was, quote, super excited. And he himself called Elliott. He refers to Elliott as a brother, but as a teammate, he has the utmost respect for him, especially what he can do in the locker room as a culture setter. And he said, we know what he can do on the field as a playmaker. So Dak was super excited. Zeke said when Dak called him, he said he felt the love. Zeke had a couple other offers from some other teams, but the Cowboys have always been home to him. And so Dak and Zeke kind of a joint effort with the front office to get him back. And they used to be carpool buddies going to the team facility the first go round together. So now reunited once again in the Dallas backfield.
Okay, look, I'll tell you this what, Garrett. I don't know if Zeke was a part of the all-in plan, but I'm sure there's still some business on the table. I'm talking about that receiver out there, CeeDee Lamb. He's looking for a new contract. We already saw some guys got paid this offseason. How does this Zeke deal maybe impact CeeDee's contract moving forward?
I don't know that it impacts CeeDee's contract all that much. I mean, Jerry said we have to wait for some leaves to fall regarding Lamb's extension and Dak's extension in those markets. And like you said, we saw Amon-Ra St. Brown, A.J. Brown. Those guys signed new deals. CeeDee's currently holding out, but talking to Dak on Wednesday, he told me he knows exactly where CeeDee is, out of town. He knows when he's going to get back. Now, Lamb is holding out, probably not going to participate in their spring workouts this offseason. But Dak said, look, if CeeDee and I have to be roommates in July before training camp, we will do that. Now, Dak has in his backyard at his house in Prosper, Texas, not too far from the facility, a regulation-sized football field with yard lines, hash markers. So they will get their work in, whether that's at the facility or in the Dak yard. Dak and CeeDee will get their timing down. And speaking to CeeDee's wide receiver room teammate Brandon Cooks, He told me absolutely CeeDee deserves to be the highest paid receiver in the league. So that's probably the contract that CeeDee's going for right now. And it's still in negotiation mode in Dallas.
We'll see how that pans out there. That is on the field, but some serious news off the field. Prescott, of course, was in the news last night. The Dallas police found no evidence to support sexual assault charges against the quarterback stemming from an incident in 2017. What's the latest you can share maybe from the team or Prescott himself on that news?
Yeah, so Jerry commented in March about that incident saying, we know all the details. We're very comfortable with the details. And Dak himself told me back in April that it's not going to have an effect on his contract negotiations and that he was comfortable with his countersuit regarding an extortion lawsuit he filed as a cross lawsuit for those charges. And now that that's been dropped, I don't think it's going to have any impact on his negotiations. The Tuesday before the draft at their pre-draft press conference, Jerry said, we want Dak Prescott, period. We don't have a blink about having Dak Prescott as the quarterback of the Cowboys. So for Dallas, this legal situation is having no impact on the talks that Jerry and Dak are having. And Dak told me on Wednesday that the conversations are ongoing and back and forth.
All right, we'll see how that pans out there. Garrett Podell checking in. Appreciate it, my friend, and good to see a familiar face on those Cowboys. Hey, don't forget the Pick Six Pod. Always got you checked in. Dial it up. The closer we get to, of course, camp's kicking off. Then we got the regular season. What will the Cowboys do? I really do not know, but we're all in. And the guys at the Pick Six, they're always all in. Just download and subscribe.